Having MG can make cooking difficult, but over the years, I've found some really helpful tools and tips that I'm excited to share. Hi, I'm Alicia. I think cooking should always be fun, creative, and of course, delicious. These black bean burgers are hearty, full of flavor, and MG friendly. You're gonna love them.
Check out Alicia's Black Bean Burger cooking video and other recipes full of tips and tricks for managing common MG symptoms while cooking, only at mg-united.com.
Ready? Let's cook.
A couch potato warning is in effect as DirecTV transforms Thanksgiving into Streamsgiving. DirecTV's got free TV nationwide. With a heavy front of 60-plus live channels and a steady stream of streaming apps, conditions are perfect for nonstop entertainment. So hunker down on the couch and sign up for your free trial of My Entertainment from DirecTV. I'm going to watch some free TV.
Start streaming My Entertainment from DirecTV now at streamsgiving.com. My Free is free. Paid services. 5-day free trial, then auto-renews monthly. Cancel anytime. Temporary credit hold may apply. Restrictions apply. See streamsgiving.com for details. AI produced.
You're listening to Campus Killings, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, DNA ID, Zodiac Speaking, Scene of the Crime, Missing Persons, Beyond Bizarre True Crime, and Killer Communications. All of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
Hello, Meghan, and hello, listeners. Today's case was requested by our listener, Kelsey C. She had asked us to discuss the Dalhousie University murder of Taylor Samson. I had never heard of this case until I started researching it, but it was actually a really huge story in Nova Scotia, and it occupied the Halifax news cycle on almost a daily basis.
Oh.
Journalist Kayla Hounsell followed the story very closely for years, and she eventually published a book on the case in 2018 that's called First Degree, From Med School to Murder. And this is where I got most of the information for today's episode, along with several interviews that Kayla gave on the podcast Canadian Gothic. So we'll have the book linked in our show notes for anyone who wants to check it out. We are, as always, excited to cover an international case with a different justice system. So I'm looking forward to our discussion on that a little bit later. But as usual, before we get to all of that, let's go ahead and get a little background on the university to orient ourselves. Dalhousie was founded in 1818 to be a secular educational institution in an era when most universities were connected to the church. But the school had a difficult time starting up, and they didn't begin accepting students until about 1838, which was 20 years later. So it took them 20 years to start out.
Okay.
Classes were sporadic and the institution was financially unstable, so they ended up closing after only 9 years, and in 1848 they became a high school. It wouldn't be until 1863 that the administration reorganized and they were able to open as a legitimate university, and they conferred their first degrees in 1866. But it still wasn't exactly smooth sailing. The school continued to face financial insecurity, and it almost caused the college to close a second time in 1879. However, a wealthy New York City publisher named George Monroe took an interest in the university and created an endowment that saved the school. Fun fact, the school celebrates Monroe Day every year on the first Friday in February as a tribute to the man who made the university possible.
Oh, that's nice.
After the endowment, the school grew rapidly over the next 100 years. Between 1997 and 2001, Dalhousie merged with several smaller institutions to become one of Canada's largest public research universities. Today, they have 4 campuses, 3 are in Halifax and 1 in Bible Hill. They also have a satellite medical school campus in St. John, New Brunswick, and they are one of Canada's most intensive research universities, and they attract many students from the surrounding territories. One such student was Nova Scotia native Taylor Samson. Taylor grew up in Amherst, a small, picturesque town about 2 hours outside of Halifax. While Taylor had a very close relationship with his mother, Linda, and his brother, Connor, his parents divorced when he was quite young, and his father went on to remarry, and this would leave Linda to raise Taylor and Connor on her own. And Linda did the best she could, but the family often struggled with money, and between the financial issues and Connor having autism, Taylor became what his friends and family described as a protector. He was always looking out for his mom and his brother in any way he could. And this led him to be extremely preoccupied with finding ways to make money in order to take care of those people that he loved. Taylor was quite a driven young man. At the age of 22, he was a physics major at college and a member of the fraternity Sigma Chi. He also ran his own online math tutoring business, and he worked for a multi-level marketing company called Vima. And as if that wasn't enough, he was starting up a smoothie company and taking courses to become a real estate agent.
Wow, he's industrious.
Yeah, and he had extreme goals. A list was found at his apartment that would later attest to this. The list was simply labeled My Plan, and it laid out Taylor's 5-year goals. Did you ever have one of these lists?
No, I don't know why I didn't. Maybe I was afraid I wouldn't attain the goals.
I actually did, and I think I told you, I was like going through old journals, and I found like a goals list.
Oh.
And I have to say, I hit a lot of them, and it's kind of cool. I wrote it when I was like 17, and I said, get a PhD, run the New York City Marathon, be financially stable.
You knew all those things. I'm impressed. Maybe I just didn't have a great plan at 17. So what were his goals? What was his plan?
Okay, so he said for one, he would own $100,000 plus investment by the time he was 25. Good for him.
Own $100,000?
Second one. Yeah, that's how he wrote it. So he probably just meant like have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2, he would financially give back everything he could to those who deserved it, such as his brother, mother, girlfriend, and friends.
Oh,
I know. And then the third one, by the time he was 25, he wanted to have accumulated enough wealth that he would never have to worry about money again.
Wow, 25? No.
I know.
No, I can't actually. At 25, I was not in that kind of place.
No.
Wait, at 45, I was not in that kind of place.
I know. Lastly, he said he would innovate and develop something that would make the world a better place and influence as many lives as possible. And this was probably related to his physics degree.
Yeah.
So none of his legitimate business ventures were making enough money, so he turned to something else.
Like writing papers or something like that?
No, he was dealing marijuana.
You know what? I was going to say that, but I was like, no. I just think it's going to be something else that's going to be school related.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to point out that it did not become legal in Canada until the Cannabis Act in 2018. And what we're discussing was about 3 years prior in 2015.
Okay.
So while it may have been a legitimate business venture today, at this time it was not.
Right.
It's not clear when Taylor got into selling drugs. He did some small-scale marijuana sales to students at the college, and he had a few clients around the Halifax area.
Mm-hmm.
By all accounts, he was very open about it. His friends and family knew what he was doing, and he had really gotten into it specifically because it made a high cash flow for him, and it allowed him to fund his legitimate businesses.
Right.
So it almost sounds like it was a short-term
to an end
plan. Yeah, a short-term need to just fund his other businesses.
Mm-hmm.
His families, in fact, say it was short-term and that Taylor hoped to leave behind this venture after graduation. And from what his family and friends understood, Taylor never dabbled in anything larger than a gram or two, and he only sold to people that he knew. But Taylor had been talking pretty seriously about getting out of the drug scene, so on the night of August 15th, 2015, when Taylor told his girlfriend Mackenzie that he was going out to do a sale, she had a feeling that this time it was very different than any that he had done before.
And now, a brief word from our sponsors.
This is Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang from Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang.
JBL Tour Pro 3 earbuds are for those who don't conform to the standard.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into some touchscreen technology, how about the smart charging case, clear sound? These are not standard things. You're only going to get them with the JBL Tour Pro 3, baby.
And I love the sound of JBL when it goes, "Gong-boo." These earbuds are packed with innovation because you can't stand out by following others.
Touchscreen smart charging case for one-touch control, instant EQ customization, true adaptive noise canceling, and the one-of-a-kind audio transmitter, which can plug and play with everything from game consoles to in-flight entertainment.
The audio transmitter also allows for JBL Spatial 360 sound that takes any audio and turns it into a 360 immersive experience.
What more could you want? First doesn't follow. Grab a pair at jbl.com.
Amazon 5-Star Theater presents Real Customer Reviews performed by Ed Helms. Tonight's review, Tactical Jacket. I was living a simple life. Didn't get out much. Then, I bought this jacket, and everything changed. Women came flocking to me from lands domestic and foreign. I bought a motorcycle. Started hanging out with drug dealers, but like rich ones. And we flew helicopters. I ended up taking down a communist regime with a band of rebels. On the 245-day sailboat voyage home, I was attacked by a shark. I knew it was the jacket he was after. I tossed it, giving up the jacket in exchange for my life. I'm alive today, but jacketless. We'll buy this jacket again soon. 5 stars. Amazon customer 69. Thank you for listening to Amazon 5-Star Theater. Looking for unforgettable gifts this holiday season, like a jacket that becomes your whole personality? Shop the perfect gift this holiday on Amazon.
'Tis the season for identity theft. This time of year, most of us are checking off our holiday gift lists. But guess what? Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on them. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second and alerts you to threats you could miss by yourself, even if you keep an eye on your bank and credit card statements. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. And all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. The last thing you want to do this holiday season is face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft all alone. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code IHEART. Or go to lifelock.com/iHeart for 40% off. Terms apply.
August 15th, 2015 was a Saturday night, and Mackenzie was helping Taylor move into his off-campus apartment on South Street in downtown Halifax. And this was right before the start of his senior year. The plan was to meet some friends for drinks, but around 10 p.m., Taylor, who Mackenzie later described as seeming a bit distracted and antsy, told her that he just had to pop down to a house at the end of the street and that he would be right back. And this was usually code for doing a drug deal.
That's what I
And
thought.
on this night, he took a very large duffel bag with him. However, he left his wallet, keys, and the medication he took for a liver disease, and this was all left on the kitchen table. So seeing this, she kind of figured this would be a short drug deal and that he would be back pretty shortly. However, by 11 p.m., Taylor had not returned to the apartment. Initially, Mackenzie thought he may have just met up with their friends, but they too hadn't seen him and he wasn't answering his cell phone. But sometimes drug deals took longer than expected, so she waited a little longer, hoping that he would be home. But he didn't come home, and he also didn't show up to a baseball game that he was supposed to be meeting his friends at the next day.
Ugh.
And this is when they all knew that something was very, very wrong.
Yeah.
Because his father lived locally, his friends went to see if Taylor had gone there. When it came to light that he was missing, his stepmother immediately put in a missing persons report with the police, while his mother, Linda, and his brother, Connor, drove to downtown Halifax and began literally knocking on doors and asking people if they had seen him.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, at this time, they were unaware of Taylor's current drug deal, and it wasn't until Sunday night that Linda found out about a large transaction that Mackenzie suspected that he was making that evening. Now, I want to point out that Linda did know that Taylor sold drugs, but she just didn't know about this particular interaction that he had left for, or just how much marijuana Mackenzie suspected that he was selling on that deal. Remember, he left with a very large duffel bag.
Yeah. I'm assuming they're going to be able to track this down, though, via cell phone or surveillance.
Yep, they'll be able to get information pretty quickly.
Okay.
Linda immediately told the police this new information, and Taylor's case was expedited to the Major Crimes Unit. Because he hadn't told anyone exactly where he was going or who he was meeting, investigators pulled copies of his phone records to see who he had been talking to before he disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And as you alluded to, it would only take a few hours for them to trace the last number who had called him. And this would lead them to a group home for disabled individuals. The staff directed investigators to a med student who had been working there over the summer, and this was a man by the name of William Sanderson. Before interviewing him, officers did a background check, expecting to find someone who had ties to the illegal drug industry. But they found absolutely nothing. In fact, they found out that William ran varsity track for Dalhousie, and he was a third-year student in their prestigious medical school. He cared for disabled patients at a local group home, and he had also been part of a medical brigade mission to Africa. He didn't even have as much as a parking ticket on his record.
Is he distributing to this group home or people? This is interesting. Okay.
Well, detectives asked him for an interview anyway, hoping that William might be able to at least provide some details about Taylor's last known conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And William readily agreed to the interview, telling investigators that he didn't know Taylor personally, but he'd been communicating with the physics major through a secure texting app, probably like WhatsApp or something similar.
Right.
And he says they were talking about a very large drug sale, $40,000 in Canadian dollars for 20 pounds of weed.
Mm.
So William planned to resell larger quantities to his own clients throughout the coming semester. But according to Williams, Taylor never showed up to the apartment to complete the deal. Investigators were not going to just take his word for it. They wanted to see the text conversation. But William told them that he had deleted the app after seeing the missing post on social media. He had expected to be questioned, and he was afraid that he would get in trouble for buying drugs. How often do we see this happening?
Yeah.
That people delete things because they're worried about other crimes?
Yeah.
They asked him to reload the app, and when it loaded, the app clearly showed a message from Taylor on 10:26 p.m. on August 15th saying that he was at the back of William's apartment building and ready to do the deal.
Oh.
Why? Yeah. Remember, he said he never made it to the apartment, so
Yeah,
a little bit
wow.
of a discrepancy. While it wasn't enough evidence to arrest William, it clearly showed that William had lied during his interview, and police worried that Taylor might be hurt or worse in William's apartment. So they secured a special request for legal entry. And this is not a warrant. In the system in Canada, a warrant can be waived for exigent circumstances, and in this case, to prevent imminent bodily harm or death, because they hoped that Taylor was still alive.
That's similar to the U.S. for exigent circumstances, the warrant waiver.
Yeah, but they don't call it a warrant. They call it a special request for legal entry.
Okay.
But yes, it is essentially the same thing. Unfortunately, Taylor was not in the apartment. However, they did find some things of interest. In fact, they found things that pointed to a violent scene.
Oh.
There was a bullet in the window frame, a pair of blood-stained pants tucked away, and small specks of blood spatter throughout the apartment. And the whole unit smelled very strongly of bleach.
Oh, goodness.
But William was the only person who could tell them what had happened to Taylor. An arrest warrant was immediately issued for William Sanderson. Charged with drug trafficking, kidnapping, and misleading police, William's second interview was now an interrogation.
Oh.
But it took two detectives several hours of questioning before William agreed to tell the, quote, actual story. And of course, I say actual story because the story changes and it's hard to know what is the story.
Right.
In this new version, he claimed that Taylor did in fact arrive. Obviously, he had to say that now because they had evidence.
Yeah.
And he said that he let him into his apartment. He says while they were in the middle of the transaction, 3 men came in through the front door and a fight broke out. William says he got hit on the head at some point and went down, so he didn't see anything, but that there was a lot of blood and that Taylor left with the 3 guys out the front door. He went on to say he had no idea where Taylor went and if he was dead or alive.
Now, that seems like a likely story. This sounds like the Jodi Arias story.
Yes, it does very much.
Right.
I don't think you'll be surprised to hear that when detectives pressed him for more details, his story changed now a third time. Now he said 3 men were 2 men and that they broke into the apartment through a bedroom window, not the front door. He claimed that they were wearing spandex head to toe, so he couldn't see their faces. He now says that they shot Taylor in the back of the head, then put Taylor and the 20 pounds of weed in the, quote, biggest duffel bag he had ever seen. He says they then left out the bedroom window.
Okay. Did he didn't have a lawyer?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
While he was still clearly lying, it was now enough to put Taylor in William's apartment on the night of his disappearance, and the physical evidence at the scene pointed to Taylor unfortunately being murdered.
Mm-hmm.
Only 4 days after Taylor disappeared, officers officially charged William Sanderson with first-degree murder. But Taylor was still missing, and William was not coming off his third story about 2 random men throwing Taylor's body into a duffel bag. Understandably, the Samson family was gutted at not having Taylor's body so that they could properly bury and mourn him. Finding him became a top priority, but where to even start looking? Well, that laid with William.
Mm-hmm. We'll return after a brief word from our sponsors.
Whether you're solving murders during breakfast, cracking cold cases on your commute, or playing amateur detective at bedtime, Amazon Music's got millions of podcast episodes waiting. Just download the Amazon Music app and start listening to your favorite true crime podcasts ad-free, included with Prime.
This is Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang from Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang.
JBL Tour Pro 3 earbuds are for those who don't conform to the standard.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into some touchscreen technology, how about the smart charging case, clear sound? These are not standard things. You're only going to get them with the JBL Tour Pro 3, baby.
And I love the sound of JBL when it goes boom, boom. These earbuds are packed with innovation because you can't stand out by following others.
Touchscreen smart charging case for one-touch control, instant EQ customization, true adaptive noise canceling, and the one-of-a-kind audio transmitter, which can plug and play with everything from game consoles to in-flight entertainment.
The audio transmitter also allows for JBL Spatial 360 sound that takes any audio and turns it into a 360 immersive experience.
What more could you want? First doesn't follow. Grab a pair at jbl.com.
'Tis the season for identity theft. This time of year, most of us are checking off our holiday gift lists. But guess what? Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on them. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second and alerts you to threats you could miss by yourself, even if you keep an eye on your bank and credit card statements. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. And all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. The last thing you want to do this holiday season is face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft all alone. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code IHEART. Or go to lifelock.com/iHeart for 40% off. Terms apply.
Detectives' first line of investigation was into the surveillance cameras around William's apartment. He had installed several webcams that pointed at his door and at the apartment complex's parking lot. During his interview, he had claimed that the cameras recorded over themselves every 20 minutes.
Right.
But when the police actually looked at the footage, this was proven to be false.
Sure.
In fact, footage from the night of August 15th clearly showed Taylor and William entering the apartment at 10:26 p.m. And this was the last time that Taylor was ever seen. Just 4 minutes later, William frantically leaves the apartment and bangs on the door across the hall. 2 male students emerge and go look into William's apartment before quickly returning to their own.
What?
Then for an hour and a half, the cameras were turned off.
All right. We have also 2 other eyewitnesses, potentially accomplices or accessory. This is interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm not sure exactly why he went to, or unless he's trying to create a story. So he went there to say, I just found this in my apartment. Come see.
Oh, I see. Okay. Got it.
I'm not certain what the purpose was, but that could be it.
Okay.
Now, the next morning, footage showed William and his girlfriend leaving the apartment before 6 a.m. Later testimony would reveal that he was driving her to her job at Starbucks.
So she was also there.
He returned to the apartment a little after 6 a.m. and then quickly left again and was out for about 3 hours. Upon his return, the webcam showed him moving things between his apartment and the trunk of his car. 2 days later, the webcam showed him putting several black garbage bags, a blue Adidas bag, and a pair of rust-colored welder gloves in his car.
Oh, gosh.
While investigators felt that they were no closer to finding Taylor, they got an unexpected tip that at least solidified William's direct involvement. William's younger brother contacted police to say that William had dropped an enormous duffel bag containing 20 pounds of marijuana at his house just 2 days after Taylor's disappearance.
How much marijuana?
20 pounds.
20 pounds. Whoa, okay.
Mm-hmm. After hearing that William had been charged with Taylor's murder, he had wanted to do the honorable thing and give it over as potential evidence. Unfortunately, he says he didn't know where Taylor was. All William had said was, quote, "I need to store something in your basement, and it might smell."
Oh my gosh. This is really did not go where I thought. This is not where I thought we were going with this. Okay.
Around 10 days after Taylor's disappearance, police were able to obtain William's phone records and got a ping from August 18th. Now, August 18th was the same day that he was seen putting black garbage bags in his car. There was also a ping in a nearby area where his parents lived. Phone logs would show that William had texted his father to say he was dropping off some stuff at their house. Investigators believe that there was a very high possibility that Taylor Samson had been buried on the Sanderson family farm.
Mm-hmm.
A 6-day intensive search was conducted on the property, and though investigators did uncover that blue Adidas bag that William had been seen loading into his car, Taylor was not in the bag. However, there was evidence pointing to the removal of something, possibly of a body. You see, inside the blue Adidas bag was rolled up black hockey bag that investigators described as, quote, smelling rotten, as well as the rust-colored welding gloves, a blue tarp, and a shower curtain from William's apartment that were all loaded with Taylor's DNA. But Taylor's body was nowhere to be found, and even though the Samson family had paid for private investigators and cadaver dogs to search, there were simply no traces of Taylor. And on top of not having Taylor's body, William never confessed to what happened in those 4 minutes between Taylor entering his apartment and William's seen on the security footage. Now, there were only 2 other people who might be able to answer what happened to Taylor.
Yeah.
Remember those 2 men who were caught on surveillance looking into William's apartment?
Yeah.
Okay, so who were these 2 men? They were friends of William from the track team. This was Paquille McCabe and Justin Blades. They initially lied to police about not hearing or seeing anything unusual on the night of Taylor's disappearance, and this would be despite footage to the contrary. However, even after months of questioning, they would not admit to hearing or seeing anything, even when they were presented with the surveillance video.
Wait, they're not going to admit to anything either? What is going on here? Okay.
I don't know, and it's on video, so. As William headed to a murder trial, his defense team knew that these 2 men would be called by the Crown, which is the prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
So the defense hired a private investigator to lean on them and see if they would break under the pressure.
Okay.
And they ended up breaking under the pressure.
Oh, good.
They told the PI that when they looked into the apartment, they saw a man who had been shot in the head and was slumped over the kitchen table. They said there was blood everywhere, and there were also drugs all over the place. And William was running around the apartment in a panic, picking up bloody money.
Wow.
They could not say for sure that the dead man was Taylor since they had never met Taylor before. At this confession, the PI cited that he felt compelled to make sure the police knew the truth. And unbeknownst to the defense team, the PI set up a meeting between the young men and detectives.
Wow.
With this confession, the Crown finally had the last missing piece of witness testimony that they needed to proceed. William Sanderson stood trial in 2017, And over the course of almost 2 months, the Crown called multiple witnesses. And this would include both William and Taylor's girlfriends, and also those 2 star witnesses who lived across the hall.
So are we going to find out, was this premeditated? Like, did he plan to kill him for the drugs? Like, or did this happen in the moment? Are we going to find this out?
I don't know that we'll ever find out everything, but we can certainly hypothesize.
Okay.
Along with the physical evidence at the scene, the DNA from the bags found on the Sanderson farm, and the webcam footage, the Crown argued that William had been motivated to kill Taylor over greed.
Mm-hmm.
They claimed that he planned to make significant profits off the sale of the marijuana, along with paying off a $78,000 loan.
Whoa. So this was planned.
This is what the Crown is saying. Of course, the defense would deny this motive, saying that William worked 3 part-time jobs, he made significant profits in his own drug deals, and he also had $200,000 student line of credit at his disposal. Therefore, the defense was saying he didn't need the money and he had a bright future ahead of him as a med student, so that there was simply no motive for him to want to kill Taylor. They also argue that the police had no right to enter William's apartment after his first interview without a warrant, and that investigators had tunnel vision and did not look into any other potential suspects. But most importantly, would a jury agree? What do you think?
Oh, they're going to convict him. And this is one case where I really don't think it's tunnel vision that led them to the suspect. It was evidence.
I would agree. And so would the jury. After 22 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict for first-degree murder, which in Canada comes with an automatic life sentence with parole eligibility at no less than 25 years.
Okay. Yeah.
That was harsher than I thought. I thought Canada was much less punitive than we are, but that's in line with our sentence as well for first-degree murder in most states.
Is it? I feel like we don't get parole eligibility for first-degree murder in most states, or at least, you know what? If we do, I don't think we get it that early.
You're right. It's probably more like 30. I know in New Jersey, it's probably closer to 30.
That's true.
But still, I was under the impression that it would even be less than 25.
Gotcha.
Honest,
okay.
But as we often see of convicted people, Williams appealed his case, citing that the PI the defense had hired turned on them and gave evidence over to the police. And in 2021, the Nova Scotia Appellate Court did appeal the sentence, citing that the judge should have declared a mistrial over that testimony, and therefore a retrial was necessary.
Wait, which testimony?
So the issue was that the defense had hired a private investigator.
Right.
And the private investigator turned on them and gave evidence to the police.
Right. Okay. Got it.
In other words, they were ethical.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The appeals continued as Williams sought to be released from prison while awaiting his next trial. But all of his appeals were denied and he remained incarcerated. Now, while waiting for his new trial, which was set for 2023, Williams completed a certificate program for paralegal and electrical engineering, and then he turned his attention to civil matters. Listen to this. He sued his former roommate, who he lived with at the time of the murder, for loss of homemade wine and 28 pairs of brand-name sneakers. William was a collector, and he claimed that the roommate stole several pairs of these shoes. So basically, while he's in prison on these murder charges, he's suing people. And actually, he was successful in that suit, and he got paid out $700 in damages.
Only he could have used all of his smarts for the better endeavors, you know?
Yeah. He didn't stop there. He also sued the police department to get his laptop back out of evidence. However, he was unsuccessful in this venture, though they did give him a copy of everything that was on his hard drive. We're not going to stop there because he went on to sue the private investigator who turned evidence over to the police. And the end of that suit has not been made public, so I'm not sure if he won that one or not.
Okay.
But either way, he kept himself very busy. Meanwhile, Taylor's family was still searching for his body, though several years have passed without any hits by cadaver dogs or by volunteer search parties. But the new trial would reveal some more information.
And now, a brief word from our sponsors.
This is Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang from Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang.
JBL Tour Pro 3 earbuds are for those who don't conform to the standard.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into some touchscreen technology, how about the smart charging case, clear sound? These are not standard things. You're only going to get them with the JBL Tour Pro 3, baby.
And I love the sound of JBL when it goes, "Gong-boo." These earbuds are packed with innovation because you can't stand out by following others.
Touchscreen smart charging case for one-touch control, instant EQ customization, true adaptive noise canceling, and the one-of-a-kind audio transmitter, which can plug and play with everything from game consoles to in-flight entertainment.
The audio transmitter also allows for JBL Spatial 360 sound that takes any audio and turns it into a 360 immersive experience.
What more could you want? First doesn't follow. Grab a pair at jbl.com.
Amazon 5-Star Theater presents real customer reviews performed by Ed Helms. Tonight's review, Tactical Jacket. I was living a simple life. Didn't get out much. Then, I bought this jacket, and everything changed. Women came flocking to me from lands domestic and foreign. I bought a motorcycle. Started hanging out with drug dealers, but like rich ones. And we flew helicopters. I ended up taking down a communist regime with a band of rebels. On the 245-day sailboat voyage home, I was attacked by a shark. I knew it was the jacket he was after. I tossed it, giving up the jacket in exchange for my life. I'm alive today, but jacketless. We'll buy this jacket again soon. 5 stars. Amazon customer 69. Thank you for listening to Amazon 5-Star Theater. Looking for unforgettable gifts this holiday season, like a jacket that becomes your whole personality? Shop the perfect gift this holiday on Amazon.
'Tis the season for identity theft. This time of year, most of us are checking off our holiday gift lists. But guess what? Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on them. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second and alerts you to threats you could miss by yourself, even if you keep an eye on your bank and credit card statements. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. And all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. The last thing you want to do this holiday season is face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft all alone. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code IHEART. Or go to lifelock.com/iHeart for 40% off. Terms apply.
Over the next 5 weeks of trial in February of 2023, the Crown's evidence was almost the same as the first trial, but the defense would take a little bit of a different tactic. In a bit of a risky move, the defense put William on the stand to address the jury himself. In his testimony, he explained that he met Taylor while looking for a local drug supplier because he was tired of driving to Montreal for his products. He mostly dealt MDMA, marijuana, and mushrooms. He said the two had met twice in person to work out a deal, and that William was looking for a lot of product. In fact, at this time, he was looking for 40 pounds of marijuana. Now, he says this was for 2 reasons. First, he was looking to wind down his business since med school took up a lot of his time. And by having a large stash of product, he'd be able to easily sell bigger quantities to clients, and then he would be done. And second, he said he thought it would take Taylor a few months to amass such a quantity, which would give him time to gather the $40,000 payment. To his surprise, Taylor had found 20 pounds in less than a week. And on the set day of their transaction, William said he only had $10,000 in cash. He also claimed that prior to the drug deal, he found out that Taylor had done a home invasion and robbery of another drug dealer, and that William planned to use that knowledge to try and pay only $10,000 for the deal.
Was this ever substantiated? Was there any way to verify this?
As far as I could find, there were no public reports suggesting that Taylor was part of any robbery. Now, this could mean that it was never officially reported, But I kind of feel like if it was true, there would have been some other evidence that came out during trial. Okay, so getting back to what William said. William said that Taylor arrived at the apartment carrying the large duffel bag filled with 20 pounds of marijuana. William said he emptied the bag to inspect the contents, but instead of accepting the whole amount, he put about 4 pounds of marijuana back in the bag and handed Taylor $10,000 in $20 bills. He says Taylor was not happy with this and said he was going to leave with all of the weed, but William told Taylor he knew about the home invasion and said, quote, "You're lucky you're getting away with anything at all." He says he then lifted up his sweater to reveal a handgun in his pocket, and he ordered Taylor to leave the apartment. According to William, at this point, Taylor threatened and lunged at him. William went on to say, quote, "We both had our hands on the gun at various points, and eventually it was pulled out. I was twisting away from him, trying to keep my body between him and the gun, and he ended up with both arms around me, and we jostled for control." William says he got the gun in the end, at which point he aimed it at Taylor with both hands, shouting for Taylor to leave. But according to William, Taylor refused. He told the jury, quote, "He kind of sneered and said, 'You're done,' and then he lunged out of the chair toward the gun, and that's when I pulled the trigger."
You know, I don't think this story's going to do him any favors. Amy, do you know what the size differential is here, too? Because this is like a self-defense claim, kind of.
That's actually a really good question because Taylor was twice the size of William. So Taylor was about 6'2", 230 pounds, where William was a slight man around 5'8" and 150 pounds.
Oh, that's a significant difference.
Yeah. Regardless, William said that Taylor slumped back into the kitchen chair and was bleeding profusely from either his head or his neck. He says it was hard to tell because there was so much blood and he wasn't moving. William said he panicked and ran to his friend's apartment across the hall. He then proceeded to go into a terrified shock where he haphazardly tried to clean the apartment with bleach before turning off his security cameras and wrapping Taylor's dead body in his shower curtain and then the large duffel bag that had held the marijuana. He says he then put Taylor's body in his trunk and drove towards his parents' farm. He says he pulled over in a parking lot near a river and dumped Taylor's body in the surge.
Oh.
He says he knew that the river fed into a large bay and that Taylor's body would never be found.
Oh.
Several days later, he says he discarded the duffel bag and other bloodied things on his parents' property. After his testimony, the defense refuted the Crown's argument that William lured Taylor to his apartment with the intent to kill him and steal drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They claim that his behavior following the shooting was not indicative of someone who had planned a hit. In other words, he told his friends across the hall, he left evidence in the apartment. They also again refuted the Crown's original argument that William was greedy and in need of quick cash. But what would a jury think this time? Remember, last time he was convicted of first-degree murder.
Oh, I think they're going to convict him again.
Well, this time he was convicted of second-degree murder, which similar to the U.S. system, this means that it was not premeditated, only deliberate.
Oh my gosh, so the testimony or something else did help him. That is shocking.
Now, in Canada, this still carries an automatic life sentence. However, his parole eligibility was much earlier than under the previous sentence. Remember, it would have been 25 years under first degree.
Yeah, well, what is it now?
Now, under the new sentence, William would be eligible for parole after only 7 years, and that would be 2030.
No.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
7 years.
I feel so bad for his family, for Taylor's family. That's awful.
Yeah, this was not comforting for the Samson family.
No.
With William's testimony, it was finally revealed that there was probably no hope of ever reclaiming Taylor's body. His mother, Linda, was devastated, citing in her victim impact statement that she had been holding onto 4 boxes of Taylor's things for the past 7 years. She told William directly, quote, "I have been holding on to Taylor's things because I was afraid if I let go, I was letting go of the hopes of Taylor returning. The pain today is unbearable. Today I packed Taylor's belongings as the first day of my grieving process. Today I accept the fact that my son has been taken from me." Taylor's brother Connor also spoke directly to William, relaying his devastation at never having been able to say goodbye to Taylor, along with being robbed of all of the milestones and memories he should have been able to celebrate with his brother, saying, quote, "I am never going to be an uncle. I am never going to see my brother get married and have a family of his own. I am never going to see him cross the stage to get his degree. There are so many victims in this murder. I haven't been the same person since. This has taken a huge toll on my life, and it will for the rest of my life." In his memory, the Samsons created the Taylor Samson Memorial Scholarship, which awards an annual $1,000 scholarship to an Amherst high school student who plans to attend Dalhousie and major in the sciences. Along with golf tournaments and proceeds from journalist Kayla Hounsel's book, the scholarship also has a GoFundMe page where anyone can donate to help forward the memorial's mission. We will have a link to this in our show notes for anyone who might be interested. But while Taylor's family has done their best to mourn their missing son and move forward with his memory, William Sanderson is currently in the process of appealing his latest conviction.
Of course.
As of a May 2023 report, William filed an appeal on the grounds of abuse of process and claims that his rights have been violated. However, to date, I didn't find any reports that he was successful in his second appeal, although, as we know, these things can take a long time, so it's possibly still in the process.
Right.
We'll keep a close eye for any updates to this case, but as of now, William Sanderson is incarcerated and not eligible for parole until February of 2030.
I gotta tell you, that does not, this outcome really annoys me. 7 years. I mean, I know that doesn't mean he's going to get parole, but I wonder if the process is similar in Canada. Like, is his family going to have to go to all these parole hearings and object to this? Like, it's not going to give them much peace. And it's such a terrible outcome for them.
I know. For the sake of the Samson family, we really hope that they have been able to find some sort of closure in the end of 7 grueling years of trials and court proceedings, and that they can continue to heal through Taylor's memorial scholarship and through his memory. For a deep dive into Taylor's life, we do recommend our listeners check out Kayla Hounsel's book, First Degree, especially since a portion of all the book sales help fund Taylor's scholarship fund. Again, a special thank you to Kelsey for suggesting this very involved case, and a reminder that if you have a case that you would like us to cover, let us know on our website, abjackentertainment.com/campuskillings. Before we go today, if you'd like to support Campus Killings, consider subscribing to the show with an AbJack Insider subscription through Apple Podcasts.
Your subscription will get you VIP access to all the shows on the network that not only includes hundreds of episodes of ad-free listening, but also bonus content and early access to episodes.
For only $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year, you'll unlock a variety of listener benefits, and you'll be supporting this show in the process.
Head over to Apple Podcasts and search for either Campus Killings or AbJack, and you can start your subscription with a free trial.
Your support is greatly appreciated.
Campus Killings is hosted by Dr. Meghan Sachs and Dr. Amy Shlosberg, with research and writing by Abagail Belcastro. It's produced by Mike Morford of AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to follow Campus Killings on social media. You can find Campus Killings on Twitter with the handle @CampusKillings, or on Facebook at facebook.com/CampusKillings. You can also visit the show's homepage at campuskillings.com. Be sure to tune in every other Saturday for new episodes of Campus Killings.